Hi, I'm Jeanne Pinder. I'm from clearhealthcost.com. We're bringing transparency to the healthcare marketplace by telling people what stuff costs. So in a former lifetime, as many of you know, I was an editor at the New York Times. I was an expert in the Soviet and East European affairs. I'm fluent in Russian, a former member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Read Dostoevsky in the original. I used to live there, as a matter of fact. I went to school there. I got arrested there, got married there. The KGB came to the wedding. I got divorced here, but that's a different story. So the Soviet Union was a big part of my life for almost 20 years. When I got to the healthcare marketplace, I started to see something kind of similar. Like people marching in lockstep to the staccato of the CPT code, this big monolith. Before anybody gets offended, I want you to know that I'm not talking about the awe-inspiring acts of healing and grace that are committed every day by many people here in this room. I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about the healthcare industrial complex, the soul-crushing, claims-denying, money-grubbing thing that does not deliver health, does not deliver wellness, that chases good people away from healthcare. It is actually kind of Soviet if you stop and think about it. The few decide for the many. Money and power first, people last. A riddle wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in an enigma is what Churchill said. And yet at the same time, you find these incredible acts of grace, great art, bravery. Sakharov, Solzhenitsyn, Akhmatova, Brodsky. You may remember hundreds of others. So when I got there, people told us that things would never change. It would always be the same. It was too big, too strong. It would never change. And yet, you remember what happened. All of a sudden, this guy showed up. He was no saint. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't linear. None of it really happened the way anybody predicted. Before very long, yes, guess what happened? The wall went down. And there are the people telling us what they wanted. In a heartbeat, governments fell across the East Bloc. Everywhere you looked, the landscape was changing. This is Prague. Some of you may remember. So what does this have to do with us? Well, when I got to the healthcare marketplace a few years ago, people said nothing would ever change. It's always going to be like this. It's too big, it's too strong. Nothing will ever make it change. And yet, once I finally oriented myself here, I actually found you all. Thank you to the Foo team. It's all of us here who have the ability to make change happen. If your logo isn't here, it's because I ran out of time to clip everybody's logos and put them onto the PowerPoint. But you're here in spirit, and we're all here. Making change happen. And in fact, before very long, I envisioned a scene that looks actually something like this, where I see familiar faces. I see actually Esther and Susanna here. I see Farzad, I see Tim. I see familiar faces coming through the chink in the wall. But I do want to sound a note of caution, because those of us who were Soviet experts hoped and believed that our friends the dissidents would triumph, that good and right would rule, that rainbow unicorns would gamble throughout the land. Maybe not so much. So, it's really important for us to tear things down, but even more important to build something new that can take its place, a lesson the Egyptians are also learning. It's up to us now, here in this room, all of us, to join together and build something better. It's not money and power first, it's people first, and we have the power.